What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher. 2-game slate, two teams trying to stave off elimination as big underdogs. And unfortunately, as the NBA playoffs continue to bring us lots of injury information to discuss, here to do it with me is Mike Gallagher. Mike, how are you on this Wednesday afternoon?
Good. Got a little dog park trip. Got a little hike in to say. Didn't install my garbage disposal yet. Definitely procrastinating on that one. And got a few props off. Sorry for being a little late, guys. Sure you understand. But yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's start with the Chicago-Milwaukee matchup where Alex Caruso and Zach LaVine both listed out. There was some question mark coming into today whether those players would be available for the Bulls. LaVine in health and safety protocols was deemed unlikely yesterday, and Caruso dealing with the concussion protocols. They weren't sure yesterday, but both officially listed out. How are the Bulls possibly going to manage this lack of guard depth without Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, and Zach LaVine tonight?
They are not. No, so DeSumo's going to play a ton. We know that not only does he trust him to run the offense, Donovan does, he trusts him for defense. And that's a role they really need in a bad way. So DeSumo's looking at just a stupid amount of minutes here. He's going to play pretty much all he can handle, basically serving in Alex Caruso's role. He'll be guarding Jrue Holiday. And I think they kind of have to start Kobe White. Kobe White would have been maybe a dark horse to start if it was just Caruso. But he probably has to start in the DeMar spot. He's played horribly. He's not making three-pointers. He's been turnstile on defense. His minutes have been cut. But they have no other options really, right? Against all that size. It's just such a mismatch here. The spread's up to 12. Feels like it should be 15. It's just... I don't know how the Bulls can keep this one close unless DeMar just plays completely nuclear here.
Yeah, and the question around playoff time is always like, how concise can the rotations get? Mm-hmm. And with teams where they have big drop-offs in talent, sometimes it's very clear how concise the rotations can get. But sometimes also when you have very clear drop-offs and you just don't have enough bodies to fill out the number of rotation spots you need, actually ends up getting a little bit deeper because they try to mix and match. We've seen this a little bit this series with the Bulls when Patrick Williams minutes didn't get way up there. They played a little bit more Javonte Green. They played some Derrick Jones Jr. And I'm having that thought tonight in terms of the Bulls. Like Troy Brown is probably going to have to play a decent bit. Javonte Green is probably going to have to play a decent bit. Derrick Jones Jr. is probably solidified with his minutes as well, just because they really don't have any depth. I mean, you look through this roster, even like Matt Thomas is out as another like guard shooting option. So it's really thin, and they don't have a lot of ways to necessarily like, you think, oh, well, you could just play bigger against Milwaukee and shift DeMar minutes down to like the 2 or something like that. They don't really have wings to be able to take care of that. So it's they've just been ravaged by guard injuries all year long. It's been an issue for Chicago. And it's in some ways fitting that the season kind of ends in this way is the expectation that will happen tonight. But how, like you said, DeSumo is just going to play a ton. How high? I mean, like I think I started Kobe and DeSumo at 36 each right now. I don't know if we should lean like 34 Kobe, 38 Io, but like they both could play 40. I mean, there's just like there's nobody behind them really.
I think Io should play more. I think Io's number should be more than Kobe's number. Just because Kobe's, if he's missing shots, man, like you need the length in a big way, especially with the size that the Bucks are putting out there. So I feel 100% confident in Io's minutes, and I'm like almost there on Kobe.
Okay.
It's just if this was a different matchup where they're playing somebody smaller, I'd feel a little bit better. But yeah, it's like. He kind of has to, right? But there's paths to him being cut a little bit. Where like Io, I don't see how there's no way they cut him out. They need his on ball defense really bad. They need his ball handling. They need him to run pick and roll with Vooch. So it's not just DeMar. He's just way too important, which is crazy for a guy that was drafted so late.
Yeah, and then a question in chat is, would Io, Kobe, and Patrick Williams play in garbage time? It's an elimination game for Chicago, so. When you're talking garbage time, for a team that is playing the last game of the season, they'd have to be down 30 or 40 in the fourth quarter to have any, which they could, but to have any sort of impact, and by impact I mean like the final 4 minutes, I don't see a scenario that DeMar DeRozan isn't playing any fourth quarter minutes. I guess if they were down 60,
like 0,
so when you're talking about garbage time minutes in elimination games, we're talking about 1 to 3 minutes, something like that. I don't think Kobe and Io and Patrick Williams would get pulled for that stuff. You saw Patrick Williams play deep into the fourth quarter in game 4 when they had nothing to play for. So I think those guys would be safe. But we're really talking about it not changing their projection as much as it gaining anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they know they're down 30 in game 3 and down 3 in the towel. The game, it's different when it's an elimination game. There's nothing you're saving guys for. And that's the key thing here to understand, is that in elimination games, you just don't see guys get pulled off the court unless it's outrageous.
Yeah, which it might be.
Which it could be. But it would have to be, they are down 30 to start the fourth. DeRozan's out there. They are down 25 with 4 minutes to go. DeRozan's probably out there.
Yeah. And I think DeRozan's going to play the full third. So if they're down 25-30, they'll probably play on the 7-minute mark and then wave the flag.
So I think it's just in elimination games, you have to understand teams there's no reason to pull guys. Yeah. And in the Bulls case, they don't really have other guys to go to. The young guys would get priority in terms of getting those minutes.
Yeah, and I'll put a number on it. So you're getting 21st half minutes. You're probably getting the full third. So that's 36 right there. And then
we have DeRozan at 41.
Right, that sounds pretty good.
That's with
maybe a half off
risk.
that.
That's with blowout risk, which for me is 1 minute. I take 1 minute off. Yep. I really don't think in elimination games you worry about it too much.
Yeah.
Okay. On the Milwaukee side of things, Chris Middleton's still out, obviously. George Hill, questionable. Do we think George Hill plays? Okay, you have the same instinct that I do, which is just
why?
There's no reason. Wait till he's absolutely fully healthy. Yeah. But he is officially questionable. Do you think if he was healthy, do you think he'd have a role in the rotation at this point without Middleton, or do you think that's even up in the air?
I don't think so. Well, it's a little different now without Levine, but they really like Javon Carter in those non-Drew minutes for defense. So you don't need it nearly as much here without Levine. So I still would probably say no, but there's just no reason.
Yeah, I think it's questionable. I mean, without Middleton, I think there's space open. So I think it's questionable whether he's still in the rotation. But a player with his injury history, a veteran status, going into a series at this point, it just seems totally pointless. So I'm not expecting him to play, even though he's listed as questionable. Let's get to the late game, and we'll go through this quickly as well. On the injury report, Denver, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. still listed out. No other changes for Denver. The surprise that we got today for Golden State was that Andre Iguodala was ruled out again with this neck issue that kept him out of game 2, I believe it was. And in that game 2, we saw Otto Porter Jr.'s minutes extended a little bit. But what we also saw was last game, we saw Jonathan Kuminga challenge those minutes for Otto Porter Jr. And get in and play, to Kuminga's, credit, play fairly effectively. I will note that all year long, the Warriors defense, when Kuminga has been on the floor, has just not been very good. And I think they can get away with all this stuff against Denver, but that, as somebody who has money on the Warriors to go very far, I do not want to be seen. I don't want to see Kuminga playoff minutes. That's not what I want to be seeing. I think against good teams, it's going to be a challenge. But how do you think they replace Iguodala tonight?
I think they want to go to Gary Payton too. I think Iguodala is such a great defender, but he's such a team defender. You don't really need the team defense because you kind of know what's happening. It's going to be dumping into Jokic. He's going to
not against Denver.
Find his open. Yeah. So it's not really a big deal. I don't think it swings. I've got pretty decent money on Warriors -8, but I think Kuminga could make an impact here as far as minutes. They want to play him. I think the B Elites stuff he's looked kind of bad. I can't believe Otto closed when Dre fouled out. So I think Kuminga does play, and I think it sets up for him. If you need another chess piece in the next series, you're certainly going to want athleticism if they play the Grizzlies, right? So I think getting his feet wet here makes some sense. It's a pretty thin play unless you're baking in garbage time and going that route. But we saw Bielitsa just completely go away, right? He got kind of cooked, and then Kuminga picked up the run there. So I think Kuminga could definitely take Bjelica's minutes in the spot.
Yeah, we have I think we have Bjelica like low, like 12, 13, something like that. And we have Kuminga at 11. And I think we have Gary Payton Jr. at like 12. Payton Jr.'s minutes have been cut as Steph has increased, right? Like they've had more guard minutes to allocate to their main guys. I do think there's a little bit more risk of Golden State pulling off the gas on some of their veteran guys than, let's say, like Chicago pulling their guys out in a blowout situation or whatever. Just because Golden State is really looking at the long run on all this stuff, and they probably are deep enough to absorb that. Like, it's harder for Milwaukee to do that. We saw Budenholzer try to do that last game, right? He pulled all the guys at like the 4.5 minute mark, and then it was a quick 5-0 run by the Bulls, and back went in Brook Lopez and Giannis, and the Bucks don't have quite the depth to survive that. The Warriors are a little bit deeper. So Steph and Dre, like, I could see maybe a minute, being shaved off. But again, we're talking minute, 2 minutes, nothing huge here. In terms of any blowout stuff. And then the Nuggets, I think,
Well, just to hit, who do you think starting? That's the big question.
I still think they continue to start. It's going to be the same thing.
You don't think they're going to start? I think they got to start Steph, man. Like, after you lost that game, like, what are we doing here, right?
I mean,
like, they're just delaying this decision to pick between Looney and Poole. I
don't think it's delaying the decision. I think it's playing the matchup. So,
okay. I mean, Draymond, I think it's just because they're worried about Draymond fouls. That's it.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
that's the only way they can lose. So just don't give yourself a chance to lose.
Okay.
If your ways of losing are Draymond getting in foul trouble, the Nuggets shooting 50% from three, and your main shooters like Steph Curry missing 4 free throws, and your main shooter shooting like 30% from three, like, cut out some of the options, right? Like, you're probably not going to get Denver shooting 50% from three. Probably not getting Steph missing 4 free throws. Just don't let Dre get into foul trouble. Give Looney the 10 to 12 minutes against Jokic and eat him up, and then see how things go. And they basically are using Looney to buy time. It's an option to buy time on when they can have Dre rested and just play free safety off Aaron Gordon and then cover Jokic late. And I think they'll just keep doing that. I think next series, at the beginning of the series, assuming they play Memphis or Minnesota, either one, I think you see things change. Against Minnesota, it might be the same. I don't know.
Looney's actually been pretty good. Looney's like one of the few
they might do the same thing there too to protect Dre, but against Memphis you don't have to, so it'll go right to the starting death lineup.
So do you think Poole starts again?
Yeah, I think it's the same exact stuff that they did last game.
I think they got to start. I think Steph starts. Do we want to flag plant bet on this one?
I'm always happy to give flag plants to start, so it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah,
whatever you'd like is fine. I just think
Jordan Poole doesn't. I think Jordan Poole's not starting tonight.
Oh, so you think Steph starts over Poole? You think Looney's still starting?
I think no. I guess I should say I don't think the lineup's going to be what it's been. I think they're going to. Okay, my bet would be it's going to change. They're going to change the lineup.
Okay, if they start Steph,
I think Steph is starting.
To me, that's not a lineup change. Like,
I think Steph is starting. That's basically what I'm saying.
Okay, which would be fine if they want to start Steph over Poole. But I think they're going to get to Steph, Poole, Clay, Wiggins, Dre as a starting lineup at some point. I just think it's going to be game one of the next series.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if yo-yoing Steph and Poole around for the last game of the series makes any sense. But also, like, they didn't lose last game because of the lineup. They lost that last game because
I get it.
Totally fluky shot profiles.
Yeah.
So that's the way I
think you want Steph out there. Now that he's played 37 minutes, he's totally good to go. Steve Kerr said he's not worried about his minutes. Like, they brought him off the bench just to avoid the 40s.
I could absolutely avoid the 40s anymore. I could absolutely see Steph start over Poole. I would not change our minutes projections a single bit.
Right.
So, like, when it comes down to it, the only thing that would change things is if Looney doesn't start at all, and then things get a little bit weirder. And I think they're especially less likely to do that without Iguodala.
Yeah.
Because that's some front court depth that they kind of need for that stuff.
Yeah, I think it makes. I was trying to think, but I think it makes sense to start Looney. I don't. I mean, it's
yeah. I think we're seeing it around kind of around the playoffs, right? Like, Birch is starting and playing like 10 to 12 minutes, but it's because they know the opposing center is going to come out and be really aggressive. And we've seen throughout the playoff series, the refs' whistles have been really tight early.
Yeah.
Right. Lots of fouls early in the game, and so just protect your main guys. Have a little bit of a sacrificial lamb that's in there. That's a big body to soak up some stuff. You can make substitutions. And I think coaches have been smarter about doing that. And I think it's worked for Toronto with Birch. I think it's largely worked with Golden State with Looney. As much as Jokic has done great work this series, he has not done great work in the fourth quarter. And a big part of that is because Trey is fully rested. He hasn't had to guard him the whole game, and is out of foul trouble and able to be aggressive with him. When Trey's been in foul trouble, Jokic has done pretty well in the fourth quarter. So. I think that's going to be the same approach. We've seen it also with Memphis a little bit with Tillman and Cat as well, just like trying to absorb the fouls. Of course, Jaren's going to find fouls, wherever he goes. Jaren walks to the bench and picks up 2 fouls.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
He's redacted now. He's reached Mike Williams status for the NFL peeps.
Yeah.
I can't believe how bad he's playing. We're doing 3-ball for that. I'm going to I want to dig in so much on like what's got me tilting. This is like not relevant to the show.
On Jaren
running offense, Timberwolves, like it's just so annoying. They do the same thing. It's D'Lo and Cat getting a switch, dribbling it out, shooting a jumper. Like what are we doing here?
I mean,
you have so much offense. It's God. I was so tilted last night.
I mean, look, you made your bed with one of the lowest IQ basketball teams in the league.
For sure.
They are extremely talented. But
they're by far the most. It's insane. If you would have watched the first 3 quarters, you would have thought this was like a sweep.
Yeah.
But like their fourth quarter meltdowns, man. I'm trying to pull up them, like dribble, catch and shoot versus pull ups shots. It's got to be like ridiculous. The efficiency gap on those. It's just horrible. But we'll talk more about that probably tomorrow for the pod or something. I may need like a drink for that.
As a reminder for the pod, Matt giving us a shout out. We did release the pod episode 167 released this morning. We talked about the RIP Bozos, both to the Brooklyn Nets, and also, the Philadelphia situation on the brink of epic disaster. We'll see if they can win one of the last 2 games. And I, as usual, went off on Philadelphia, the culture, Joel Embiid's responsibility in it, and so on and so forth. So if you like seeing me heated talking about Philadelphia and Embiid, there's plenty of that there. We'll continue to provide that content as we preview series. We'll now have maybe we'll have a few more series lined up. I guess not before we record. We're recording on Thursday. So, we would have nothing else fully. Oh, we'd have Milwaukee, Boston potentially fully lined up.
Yeah, we'll probably talk more about that. Yeah.
A little bit more in depth, which would be 1:00 on Sunday. In terms of show schedule, the rest of this week, it will be determined largely tonight, just FYI. So
it's being determined tonight. Oh.
Yeah.
What is a parlay if you run a money line? It's like, what's a parlay even pay out? Like, it's got
probably minus 600. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not good. So if these 2 teams close out tonight, we will only have 1 game on Friday. I am moving apartments Friday, and we're not going to do an injury report show for 1 game. Or you and Fan can come on and rant if you guys want, but I will.
Minus 263 money line Bucks and Warriors tonight.
There you go.
I think that's a pretty good bet.
There you go.
I'm drinking the juice, but
there you go.
I'm gonna do
so
that.
You and Fan can come on Friday if you want for the 1 game, but it's totally unnecessary.
No, I'm good.
Yeah. So we will likely.
Yeah, that would be it would make for pretty good content because it would be 1 game of me talking about Memphis and the Wolves. It would probably be pretty good content.
I feel like it would just be your 3-ball again.
For sure. Yeah.
So
at least I talk to Fan. We'll see if Fan wants to do it. I might do it just because
we'll most likely take off Friday. And for those of you that are behind the paywall with us on the DFS side, that would also be the case for the DFS show. If it is a 1-game slate, we would still have top plays, we'd still have projections and all that stuff.
I'll write matchups on Friday. I'm ready. I rate matchups Monday, Wednesday, Friday, regardless. Obviously,
so
a lot.
We would have all that stuff, but on the 1-game slates, we're going to cut down, especially with matchups that we've deep in the series. We've talked through them all the time. We're going to cut down the video content on that stuff. Give myself a chance to get settled in the new apartment, get the new office up and running, and hopefully fewer sirens. A little bit more soundproofing on the new apartment, which I'm excited about. Theoretically, we'll see if it works. But I think that says it all for today's Injury Report Analysis show. If you enjoy the content that we're providing, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get notifications whenever we go live. Please also continue to hit, smash, or press the like button so you can circulate this content and keep us doing it. As we've said, all playoffs, we'll continue doing it if people are out there watching it. But if the views drop off substantially, we're going to be thoughtful and mindful of our time. We'll just dedicate it to shopping more props, essentially, and firing off props, which we're closing in on plus 200 units.
Let's go.
You have weekly props packages available, as well as DFS packages behind the paywall with us. We have been really, really strong during the playoffs. And somebody asked in Discord yesterday if they think we have added edge or we're running hot. If anything, I actually think we're running a little cold because we've had some injury situations that have destroyed clear winners. But I think the big thing in the playoffs is we know everybody's motivation. You know, you don't have guys on the second night of back-to-back dragging ass out there. We've got everybody's motivation, so we know, and we can predict rotation.
Well, except for the Heat, they
apparently
where they're resting people in playoff games. But
I know you're still tilted.
I'm so tilted.
Tough day in the betting streets for Gallagher after.
No, actually, I finished up because I bet Max Strus's points, rebounds, assists, and points, rebounds yesterday, 2 days ago. So
recovering from the Wolves and Heat disasters.
Well, I bet Wolves. My bigger bets. Once I said this on the last time, I was like, once I wasn't going to bet the Wolves over the weekend. I was like, I can't do it. It's too stressful. But then I saw them start Tillman. I'm like, okay, like Jenkins isn't playing it right. He's not playing enough Brandon Clark, and he did play enough Brandon Clark. But it's still the Wolves plus 6.5 still was surprisingly pretty easy. But God, I did have some money lines that were tilting. But, so I finished up pretty good yesterday. Nice. I did have the Miami money, the Miami minus 2.5 games too. So
good. I somehow finished slightly down yesterday because most of the bets that we put out were not on books that I am currently able to bet any money on. So
Lily needs to get going. Lily needs to get in the
no, my girlfriend's limited everywhere too. It's a tough time in the household.
Oh man.
But yeah, so check out the props package. Again, we're closing in on 200 units for the season, hitting about 61% of bets that we've placed. We've placed over 1,100 bets dating back to the start of the NBA season. We're continuing to pump them out during the playoffs. We've been averaging over 8 a day, which I have to think is going to slow down. But we will see.
There's our lovely line right there. Oh, so sexy. Yeah. We need 20K today.
Yeah,
so we're doing it.
So we'll see. We'll see if we can pull it off. But yeah, join us behind the paywall tonight, 5:30 Eastern. Myself and Mike Gallagher breaking down this 2-game slate from a DFS perspective, and then tomorrow the last 3-game slate we think of the playoffs. Tomorrow night will be a really, really fun day. And my last broadcast from this apartment, which I am looking forward to, the last of hopefully siren hell that I've been in for the last 3 years. So, all right. For myself and Mike Gallagher, enjoy the games tonight. Hopefully for us, we're closing out some series because I'm tired of these 2 series and I have a lot of money on both of these teams minus 2.5 in the series after missing out on the sweeps. So hopefully we close these out, have a softer end of the week, and get ready for round 2. We'll be back again tomorrow to discuss a slew of game 6s at 2:00 Eastern with another edition of Established Runs NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. Enjoy the hoops. See you then, everybody. Take care.